In this video, we're going to look at the H&H Color Lab green screen test image evaluation points. By following the suggestions in this video, you should be able to get your green screen test through the process quickly and painlessly. You can find a list of the evaluation points that we're going to review in this video by going under the sitemap, schools, and then green screen. On the green screen window, click on the Getting Started tab and scroll to the bottom of that screen, and you'll see this list of green screen test image evaluation points. We're going to go through many of these points today and talk about them in a little bit more detail and show you some image examples. The green screen test image evaluation points were created to allow you to shoot green screen and not incur additional charges after you've completed the job. We have found through looking through thousands and thousands and thousands of green screen images that there are certain things that can be done at capture that will make a green screen turn out correct, and many things that can be done wrong at the capture that will incur additional charges after the job has been completed. One of the first points that we look for is an image that's consistently lit with a smooth toned background. Things to avoid on this are light fall off from a hair light, wrinkles, or folds in the background. Shooting off the background also can be problematic. In this example, the main area of concern, there's actually two areas of concern. One is going to be the hair light is spilling down here across the top of the image, and that's causing a vignette over here on the right side and the upper left corner. This is a similar setup, and we're also seeing that hair light spill in on there. And on this one, a full-length green screen shot with them on the green background can cause problems in knockout and is an additional charge. In addition, we have some fairly strong shadows here on the left and right side from our main infill light that are causing issues and will cause issues in knockout. In addition, we want to see a smooth background. Here's an example of a background that is a cloth background that is obviously very wrinkled. Here's another cloth background that has a lot of wrinkles on it. Same thing with this one. All of these examples will incur additional cleanup charges because those wrinkles do not knock out cleanly. They're going to leave lines behind that we're going to have to go in after the knockout and spend artwork to clean up. This one has really strong wrinkles. In addition, it's not hanging well, and that's causing shadow areas on the background. So these are images that we would recommend retesting on because they're not going to knock out cleanly. Another test point talks about the test images should show a variety of well-lit and posed subjects. An ideal test is going to have 5 different individuals showing the following characteristics: a variety of hair types, clothing options, and poses. This is an example that shows the same individual posed slightly differently, but we're looking to see repeatability, and this does not show that. In this example, we see that the poses are quite a bit different. At least we have some standing and sitting examples, but again, it's the same individual posed the same way. We're not seeing repeatability. In this example, we at least have 5 different subjects, but looking at them, we see there are some slight differences between each shot in both exposure and tone. Notice that the green is not consistent on the background. That could be due to a white balance setting or the fact that this set of images may not have been submitted all at one time. Again, we're looking for repeatability across a range of subjects. In this example, and this is almost a perfect example, we do see 5 unique individuals with slight variations in posing as far as being posed left and right. We also see that they're showing a full length in that they are testing for our spring green screen program. And they've also submitted images that are of an adequate resolution for doing multi-pose cropping out of. Focal length and aperture, or f-stop, are also evaluated to ensure appropriate sharpness around the subject. Ideal focal lengths are between the range of 45 to 85 millimeters, and a minimum f-stop of f8 is encouraged. Longer focal lengths and wider apertures will result in a softer edge that does affect the knockout process. Let's look at some examples so you can see what I'm looking at. On this example, if we zoom up here on this side, so we're on the subject's left side, we see we have a fairly sharp edge going through that image. And if we go here on the right side of the image, because of the focal length and they're further away from the camera, we're getting a much softer edge, and that will cause problems in knockout. We're not going to get a clean line on that knockout. On this example, specifically looking in here under her arm, we can see, oops, zoomed in quite a bit, we've got, again, a softer edge. And on fuzzy materials like this, like on sweaters, that's going to end up leaving green clumps behind that have to be manually cleaned up after the knockout process has taken place. This is a good example to show a real clean, sharp edge here on the left side. And again, because of focal length and or aperture combinations, we do have a much softer edge on the right side. And again, that can cause problems in the knockout process. Here's a more extreme example of a soft edge. We're getting kind of that a lens bokeh effect here. And same on this one, we've got the real soft over here and much sharper on this side. So we ideally would want to see something like this all the way around the subject. Keep in mind when you're choosing your focal length that the camera sensor size will also come into play. So if you're using a full frame sensor, you might find that you need to shoot at a shorter focal length, maybe 60 or 50 millimeters, as well as having the option, if you have enough power, to output up to possibly f11 for your aperture to get that sharp edge all the way around the subject. Images should also have a consistent exposure and color. To achieve those, for a color basis, you should be looking at using a custom white balance in your camera. For instructions on doing a custom white balance, refer to your owner's manual. Each camera is slightly different in how to do that. To do a custom white balance, you can use an H&H Zebra card, which can also help you evaluate exposure, as well as we recommend checking out the Lastolite Easy Balance. Get at least the 24-inch size or larger, and that will do a great job for your custom white balance. In addition, we evaluate for exposure, and we evaluate exposure by using two different techniques. One is the face mask histogram technique. Information on reading and doing a face mask histogram can be found at shootsmarter.com. We also look for specific RGB values in the skin tones. We typically like to see a specular highlight area that has a skin tone range between 235 and 242 as the max. To evaluate a face mask histogram, I'm going to go to my oval marquee tool, and I'm going to marquee off the mask of the face. I want to get slightly under the chin, up into the hair, and I don't want to grab any jewelry, or if they've got glass glare, I don't want to have that in there. Looking at my histogram in the channel mode set to RGB, I want to see a gap left and a gap right, and I want those to be about equal. If it's shifted to the right, I'm overexposed. If it's shifted to the left, I'm underexposed. So this example is almost perfect. I'm going to also come into my color sampler tool. I've placed it into the specular highlight on the subject's forehead, and I can read the RGB values, and I see that my red channel is at 242, which is right at the top of my exposure range. Again, I'd like to see that exposure in the range between 235 and 242. Another point that we check for is to make sure that images are submitted in the correct color space. For green screen, all images must be submitted in the sRGB color space. The image on the left we can see has been submitted with an Adobe 1998 color space, and that if you load the image into Easy Event with an Adobe 1998 color space and the project is green screen, it will give you an error when you're preparing the order to send to the lab to let you know that your files are in the wrong color space. You will need to convert those files into the sRGB color space before you submit. If you have questions on doing that procedure, please contact customer service. Please review the lighting diagram on the Green Screen Schools Lighting Diagram tab. Keep in mind this is a starting point for your green screen lighting diagram. Some of the important points to know about this and to be aware of: first off, we do recommend using umbrellas, and our preferred umbrella is the Photogenic 45-inch Eclipse Plus umbrella with the white satin panel. These umbrellas have a fairly flat back on them, and it causes the light to be spread more evenly across the background. A more parabolic shape umbrella will focus the light and not give us an even background illumination. In addition to the 45-inch Eclipse umbrellas, the dimensions of this layout may need to be modified slightly. Some of the dimensions that you may need to modify are the 40-inch out from center dimensions that are listed here for both the main and the fill. As you go to larger subjects or 3/4 length poses, you might find that you're getting some shadows on the background. To help minimize those, move those lights further from the center. You might go to 48 inches, possibly even 52 inches. Another thing to look at is to not cross light really strong, maybe flatten those lights out just a little bit. A second point on the lighting diagram that is very important is not to exceed that 5 foot 6 inches, maybe 5 foot 10 inches from the background. The further you pull the subject away from the background, the more light fall off you're going to have, the darker green that background goes. Again, that can be a problem with knockout. So try to stay pretty close to that 5 foot 6 inch dimension. If you'll notice that the hair light is a softbox, it's also having the notes that this is directly overhead and facing down. If you attach your hair light to the background stand at the background, you've created a pretty strong angle of incidence, and that can cause problems with knockout. And I'm going to show you some examples of that right now. When we're looking at the images and evaluating for hair light problems, here are some of the things that we will see. In this example, we have an image that has a very strong hair light. It's probably also positioned back on the background. It's also probably not a soft light source, meaning it's not in a softbox. It may be in a parabolic or a grid spot. And we can see how specular the flyaway's hairs get up here on the top of his head. During the knockout process, those hairs are left behind and actually will be reflecting green through them from the background, which when placed on the new background is going to look pretty bad. Here's another example. Hair light is not quite as strong as we saw on the last image, but again, it's positioned in a way that we're getting a lot of reflected light through the hair, and it's going to pick up a green cast. Both of those can be fixed, but they will require additional artwork and additional charges. So this example shows a near perfect green screen test. This is what we're looking for. I have a range of 5 subjects. I have a range of hair colors from blonde brunettes to redheads. I have well lit, well exposed, good color, even uniformity on the background, even with just a little bit of fall off down here at the bottom. Everything is very good on these images. This is what we want to see in an ideal test. If you do have any questions about your images before you're submitting your test, please contact customer service, letting them know that you're wanting to do a green screen test and you'd like to have an image evaluated before you start that test, and we'd be happy to do that for you.